Hello and welcome everyone to AARP Wyoming's Video Voter Guide series for 2024. I'm Tom Laycock with AARP Wyoming, and today we're joined by Bob Nicholas, who's running for the Wyoming Legislature in House District 7 located in Laramie County. AARP has a proud 40-year history of nonpartisan voter engagement and does not endorse or oppose candidates, nor does AARP make contributions to political campaigns or candidates at any level. Instead, we ask questions so our members understand where the candidates stand on important issues and can make their own decisions on Election Day. Today, we'll ask Mr. Nicholas 3 questions, allowing for a 1-minute and 30-second response to each. Then we'll give him 2 minutes to make his final pitch to the voters of House District 7. So, Mr. Nicholas, our first question is this. Over the last 2 years, the Wyoming Legislature has made providing property tax relief for its citizens a priority. In your view, what's the most effective way to provide relief while balancing revenue needs for our schools, counties, and other entities that rely on property tax to maintain sustainable funding?
Well, thank you for the question, and it's nice to see you, Tom. Thank you for putting on this event with AARP. The property tax relief, as you say, has been going on for several years, along with other types of tax relief. And I must say that through the legislative process, we continue to strive to keep taxes low and to make so we're the best placed, lowest tax state in the nation. And right now we are. Depending on what polls you look at, number 1 or number 2, we're the lowest tax in the nation, even with our increased property taxes. But all of us are, I think, of the opinion that we want to provide some property tax relief to all Wyomingites. It needs to be income-based to the point where we're helping those who need the greatest need, but some relief for all. And it's a complicated issue. For example, there are some counties that had less than 3 or 4% property tax increases over the last 4 or 5 years, while other counties have been up 75 to 80%. Tremendous differences. And so it doesn't make sense to have the exact same property tax relief in every county, because the beneficiaries would be different and it wouldn't be a fair distribution of it. But we're going to provide relief to everybody. It will be in a fashion that is income-based and help those who need it the most.
Our second question for today. Wyoming's population of those 60 and over grew by 47% from 2010 to 2020, while the state's entire population grew just 2%. We know 64% of all nursing home beds in Wyoming are paid for right now by the state Medicaid program. What do you see as the greatest barrier to helping our older adults age in their homes and communities, and what solutions would you provide?
Well, thank you for the question. That's, once again, we have been working on this problem on a regular basis. As you know, I'm the chair of the Appropriations Committee. Every year, we address this particular issue. And just to give an example, your Joint Appropriation Committee made recommendations to restore the home services amount. That was about $5.5 million in our last budget. We maintained the nursing home ratios. That was about $16.5 million. We added Medicare buy-in dollars, which is about $1.65 million. We restored medical providers, some of the cuts we made when we had to back in the 2019, 2020s. That was about an $8.2 million increase. And we've added dollars for behavioral health services, about $7.2 million. And as you also know, our budget for the state of Wyoming is primarily dictated by health on our general fund side. Our budget at the last biennium for 25-26 was $2.44 billion. The prior budget before that was $1.93 billion. I mean, that shows you the increases that we have been faced with the inflationary costs, also with replacing the ARPA dollars as we come back online. And so we're fighting all of those issues as best we can. But what's most important is home-based care, keeping people home, keeping mobility, and continuing to watch our dollars and keep our taxes low and provide as best services we can to our elderly population.
Thank you. Our third and final question for today. Emergency medical services are not considered an essential service in Wyoming, and in some areas, ambulance services do not have sustainable funding. Over the last 10 years, Wyoming has seen 16 EMS providers in the state fold or consolidate with another service. What solutions would you offer for ensuring access to ambulance services?
So that's a fascinating question. It's a question that, once again, we have been working with in the Joint Appropriations Committee, and when we had ARPA dollars and other issues over the past several years. There's a governor's task force also working on it, where there is a pilot program on how to regionalize that problem. And the real issue is every place in the counties and the states are different. Laramie County is different from Natrona County, is different from Niobrara County. What we did is we passed a bill last year that allows cities and counties to basically create a special district, go before the voters, put a levy on so that they can provide the services that are needed. It's an interesting proposition. We have studied it. We will continue to study it because it is important that we get it done. It's also important that there is local control and local buy-in on what the services are provided. Some counties have 3 or 4 or 5 different providers. Laramie County has multiple providers. It's interesting because the cost of emergency services in Colorado, 40 miles below us, is half the price of what emergency services are here in Laramie County. But that's another example of the issues we have in Wyoming. We have the most expensive medical health care in the continental United States. And we continue through our budget, where I just talked about earlier with the Department of Health, to address those problems as best we can with the monies that we have. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for taking the time today to answer our questions. And we want to make sure we give you a couple minutes to explain to the voters why you think you're the best person to represent House District 7.
Well, Tom, I don't know if I like the word best person. I think I may be one of the most effective persons, for my particular position. I love working for Wyoming, and I love working for the city of Cheyenne. It has become a passion and a full-time job for me as a practical matter. And I want to preserve the way of life in Wyoming. I want to preserve our low tax base as best we can. We have all kinds of cyclical issues. We're the most volatile state, second most volatile state in the United States in terms of income. And so even though we have these cyclical issues, we have to come up with new ways to solve our problems. We know that the oil and gas and coal dollars that have funded us in the past may not be there in the future. And so we continue to reinvent how Wyoming is going to be structured and what's going to pay our bills as we go forward, but also keep our tax structure low. One of the best ways we've been doing that is increasing our savings accounts and our permanent funds. We now spend anywhere between 22 to 28% of our general fund dollars comes from investment income from our investments. In the last 2.5 years, we put $2.1 billion into savings so that by the 2024, or let's say 2040 or 2045, we can have 60 to 70% of our income theoretically could come from our income-based dollars in the event and when we do not have the coal revenues, the severance tax revenues, and the mineral industry revenues that we all allow us to have the style of living that we love so much here in Wyoming. Pay for our streets, pay for our counties, provide as best healthcare we can, and basically do the most we can with the least amount of impact to our limited income folks, and maintain our way of life in Wyoming. So we're continually working to get it done.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Mr. Nicholas, and thank you to our viewers for joining us for this video voter's guide. We encourage you to keep checking Cowboy State Daily and AARP Wyoming's Facebook page for more voter guides in the days to come.